Alterous attraction is defined by the LGBTA wiki as a form of emotional attraction that is not necessarily platonic or queer platonic, but is also not romantic in nature. Confused? For a while I was too, but today I'd like to take a deeper look into the world of alterous attraction, what it is, what it isn't, and have a crack at unpacking how to recognize it. No promises there, but I'm going to try. For those who haven't met me yet, my name is Artemis, and I make videos about life and art through the lens of my lived experience. And of all the videos I've made so far, probably the one I'm proudest of is my short film Mesh, which is about my experience with meshes, the alterous equivalent of crushes. Now, it's not the fanciest video, I shot it in one afternoon entirely by myself, but I'm proud of it because of the people it's reaching. People who experience alterous attraction who have yet to see themselves represented in any way before, or people who are just discovering the term, are continually telling me just how much that video means to them. And one commenter even said that it was the only video they could find on the topic at all. And I'm determined for that to no longer be the case. So here's a less artsy exploration of what alterous attraction is from me, ya pal Artie. Part 1. What is this feeling? The term alterous was initially coined by Tumblr user Scully and refers to situations where neither platonic or romantic attraction can fully describe one's circumstances. Others also describe it as an indifference as to whether these relationships are viewed through a romantic or platonic lens. All of these definitions are valid, but for simplicity's sake today, I'm going to be working off that definition from the beginning of the video. A form of emotional attraction that is not necessarily platonic, queer platonic, or romantic, which I think also encompasses those alternative definitions. The thing about alterous attraction that makes it quite difficult to identify is that it's a term defined more by what it isn't than what it is, and those things that it isn't are quite difficult to define in and of themselves. Now my ARO ass cannot for the life of me tell what romance is supposed to be, which is why it took me so long to identify what my meshes actually were. So I'm going to say right now, right here at the beginning of the video, that I'm not going to be able to give you anything concrete here. But hopefully what I can do is provide you with a framework for approaching the question, is this feeling alterous? So the first thing you're going to want to attempt to do is work out how you define friendship and how you define romance. And no, I'm completely serious, please don't click off this video. If you're aromantic like me, that might be pretty difficult to do. I'm going to be completely straightforward with you on that. You might not land on anything concrete at all. But in attempting to answer these questions, you will probably learn a thing or two. I, for instance, in this process, thought about the people I would most firmly call my friends, and the kind of things I was drawn to doing with them, the things I was indifferent to doing with them, and the things that I really didn't want to do with them. And I started to notice certain patterns, and it's possible that you might too. And heck, maybe you're one of those people who does experience this romance thing, and so distinguishing it from your platonic relationships may actually be incredibly easy, to which I say, good for you! Once you've worked out good archetypes for friends and romo-humans, it's time to start thinking about the people in your life that make you go, huh, and see how it feels with the friendship filter applied to them and the romance filter applied to them. Do they both sort of fit? Do they both feel off? Could you squeeze that relationship into one box, but it's definitely a squeeze? Well, then those feelings you're feeling may just be alterous ones. I sadly can't tell you for sure, partially because it's kind of a dick move to try and tell other people how they're feeling, but also because alterous attraction can mean something completely different to you than it does to me, on account of our definitions of platonic and romantic differing. What I'm really here to do today is provide a potential process for you to work things out through and validate any confusion you may be experiencing. This is a new concept for many of us, and even if it feels right, it may take some time to actually accept this as part of your identity. That's normal. These words exist to help you identify and describe your experiences. And if they aren't serving you, you don't have to use them. But if they are, I'm here to tell you that claiming them loudly and proudly is okay. Part 2. What does that make me? So alterous isn't just a word to describe a type of attraction, it can also be used as an identity label, or at least part of one. To help me with this part of the video, I'd like to introduce my good friend, Sam! Take it away, Sam! Hi, I'm Sam, aka the split attraction model, aka the idea that your experience of attraction may differ depending on the kind of attraction we're talking about. Attraction comes in many forms: sexual, romantic, sensual, platonic, aesthetic, and critically, alterous. Many people will identify with an orientation label which attempts to describe their experience of attraction by means of a qualifier, usually a gender-related qualifier, but not always. I, the split attraction model, exists to bring into the world the idea that these orientation-based qualifiers need not be the same for every type of attraction you experience. Confused? Well, let's take an example. Artemis does not experience sexual attraction.
That's right.
Making them asexual.
You betcha.
But they do experience platonic attraction. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, to almost all genders. I guess gender doesn't really have anything to do with it. Which would make them pan-platonic.
Yeah, I've never described myself that way, but I guess it's accurate.
Now, these prefixes of homo, hetero, bi, pan, a, etc. can be applied to any form of attraction. So if we were to break Artemis's experience of attraction down in that way, we could say that I'm an aromantic, asexual, pan-platonic, grey sensual, pan-aesthetic, pan-alterous fool. You don't need to break everything down to that degree of specificity, but if it helps you navigate the world or enables you to feel better about yourself, then I, the split attraction model, am here for you. That's right. I personally tend towards identifying more with aromantic and asexual only, because the others, whilst important, are less likely to come up in interactions with the world. Society just straight up assumes that most of us are pan-platonic people, so it barely feels worth mentioning. But I do have that information there in my own brain to feel seen and validated by. And if you feel like making that piece of information public, there's nothing wrong with that if that feels right to you. Alterous orientations are a part of that. If you find that the word bi-alterous or demi-alterous or poly-alterous makes you feel seen or more equipped to deal with this hellscape we all find ourselves living in, then it is there for you in whatever way you need it to be. Part 3. How do I tell people? So you've worked out this cool thing about yourself, and you want to let your family and friends in on it. Amazing! But it is unlikely if you just come out and say, I've worked out I'm pan-alterous, that people are just gonna straight up understand what you're talking about. So how do we fix that? Well, you could send them this video if you think this style of information sharing would work, but otherwise, here's a framework for approaching this that you could use if you want. Start by explaining that you've noticed how some of your feelings or relationships don't fit neatly into the categories of friendship and romance. But more importantly, explain what noticing that has meant for you. It's harder for them to be dismissive with a "that's not real" if you are open and clear about why this is important to you. And whilst I say it's harder, it is definitely not impossible for people to be dismissive in this way. People can get defensive when presented with new ideas, and if someone's going to be like that, the manner in which you introduce them to this concept is not necessarily going to curb a shitty reaction. It is important that you feel safe and are capable of dealing with any rejection that may come up before you come out in any way, and that includes coming out about your alterous feels. Safety is key, friends. Safety is key. But Artemis, I hear you ask, how do I tell my meshes that I have alterous feelings for them? Well, the concept's pretty similar. Start by making sure they understand what alterous attraction is, but more specifically, what it is for you. And I use you in a collective sense in this instance. What does it mean for your relationship? Do you want to call it something different? Do you want to spend more time together? Do you want to do anything differently at all? If you want an example of how I would have this convo with my meshes, the short film I mentioned earlier is linked in the iCard and the description. In that short film mesh, I model this type of conversation, but I wouldn't recommend using that exact script because our experiences of alterous attraction are likely to be quite different. Unless, for some reason, you're my feelings twin, in which case I'd like to say, I'm sorry you've been having a hard time lately, but I'm glad that you're starting to feel a bit better in general. Also, you now know what alterous attraction is, and the character in that short did not. So I'm hoping that when you finally get around having this conversation with your people, that you're a little less cut up about it. Regardless, the most important part of telling your meshes about your meshes is letting them know what it means for your relationship. And that could include statements like, I don't know what I want yet. That's cool, that could be something you work out together if you'd like. But alterous feelings don't happen in a vacuum. They are tied to real people And your relationships probably will change in some way if you tell people this stuff. What's important is to be clear about what it means to you, as an individual and collectively. So there you have it, friends. That's what Alterous Attraction is all about. Now, if you're still confused, valid. This concept is not easy to wrap your head around, and whilst I've tried to explain things as clearly as I can, my communication styles are going to be for everyone. So I've got some links in the description, and I'm encouraging people to use the comment section as a sort of community space to come together and discuss what this concept might mean for you and your relationships. Feel free to subscribe or support me on Patreon if that's your thing, but nevertheless, have an utterly excellent day. Alterous, alterous, I am feeling so alterous. Can I know what it is? I guess not, that's the point of it. This feeling's alterous. Alterous, alterous, this feeling is so alterous. Are we friends or lovers? Who's to say? I don't care, I know. This feeling's alterous.